we're driving around, and he's getting some calls, but nothing.
Nothing to rush off to.
Right. So then we finally got a call of a house fire.
Fully engulfed in flames. That's what I heard on the radio.
And at the time when we got the call, nobody knew if there were still people inside. I mean, the call came up quick.
Mm-hmm.
Chris was like, "We're on it." Pretty soon I start seeing the, miles per hour gauge just keep creeping up, and I just keep looking back at Erica like, oh my, it's like 96, 98, 105, and I'm just like, oh my gosh. Pretty soon it's like 115, I think is about the speed that we topped out at.
We topped at 115. He had the lights on, he had the sirens on,
oh, yeah.
And then he turned the
skidding around corners.
Yeah, the music up, so we have a theme song.
As we're rushing to this fire, and he's like jamming out, but totally in the zone. And by the time we got there, the fire was already out. I was so impressed with Tallahassee. They had already had so many fire department trucks there.
There were 3 trucks out.
There was how many cruisers?
Oh God, 2 or 3 or 4.
4, I would say, something like that.
5, yeah.
And I mean, in a matter of minutes, from when we got the call, the house is engulfed. They don't even know if people are still inside or not. To when we actually got there, the fire's out. Everybody's fine. I was just like, wow, go Tallahassee. Way to get it done, guys.
Got it out. And so I'm standing there with Chris waiting, she's taking pictures of the water cascading down the street. There's smoke billowing out of the house. And I'm like, oh man, I wonder what happened. So Chris is all like going, well, I bet you go ask the neighbors, you can find out. So I walk over to the neighbor across the street who was sitting there watching the house, and I was like, so, what happened? And he's like, oh, space heater exploded. So I was like, all right, cool. And I walked back to Chris. I was like, yeah, space heater exploded. He's like, I told you they'd know. And then when we got to where we were sort of in the front of the house, and she was taking pictures of just the water coming down, and that's when we got our killer shot. I'm sitting there just watching because, I have more of a take on what's going on. And
I'm like zoomed in on one area.
I think she was getting a picture at that time of the firemen turning off the fire hydrant.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I'm sitting there, I look around, and they're bringing this cat out of the house. It's an orange cat, but it sort of looks blackened, and it's kind of smoking. And it's so funny, they lay the cat on the ground and they pull out the oxygen thing.
And so she turns to me and she's like, Nikki! The cat! And I'm like, what? And I'm looking
behind
everywhere.
A bag. There was a bag in front of the cat. You couldn't see the cat.
I couldn't see the cat. I'm looking around. I'm like, what cat are you talking about? She's like, the cat! Go get the cat! Nikki, get the cat! They're giving oxygen to the cat! Oh my gosh, when do you get an opportunity like that to take a picture of a cat getting oxygen? When does that happen?
The other lady, the older lady in the picture, she comes up, she's got, no shoes on. She obviously just has a coat on, and she has 2 cats in her hand. And one, obviously having a hard time keeping both of them in their hand. So I'm like, let me help you out there. So I grab one, and I'm starting to calm it down while Nikki continues to shoot the pictures. And so I've really lost all interest in the scene because I'm like, well, it's okay, kitty, it's okay. Totally trying to calm it down, and I think I pretty much got it calmed down by the time we were ready to go. And then Chris was like, okay, guys, we gotta get to
We're done with the cats, okay?
Yeah.
The cats are okay.
Let the cat go. And I'm like, no, I don't want to let the cat go.
Blessed Sacrament is a Catholic church and chapel. They've been doing what's called perpetual adoration for, I think, 8 years.
I wonder if is it unlocked?
I think it is locked, but somebody will let us in.
I saw it been locked.
Yeah, I just don't know if they can freely get out.
A lot of people in there. I thought there'd be one person. Have you talked to them? Do they know what coming?
They know you're coming. I just mentioned that.
We'll just wait out. And then when they're, because we don't want those in the shots either.
Thank you, Chief.
That's what it's all about right there. Sweet lady coming out, helping us out. Doesn't know us from anybody, but totally cool.
Apparently the Democrat did a piece as well, so I don't think they are completely strangers to this.
Right.
press type stuff. I mean, this is the only Catholic church here that does this.
The way they can do this is they have a roster of parishioners that volunteer their time, usually I think about an hour at a time, to basically come in and just be in the chapel. A lot of people pray, but I think most of the people there that night were simply, a few of them were actually like praying. Others, I guess a lot of college students do it. They were just doing homework or reading. They can come in, light candles, sit with the other people. It's really quiet, so we weren't able to ask any questions or anything.
So that's the kind of stuff I love, dude. Because it's like you got the foreground and you got the, you know, the background, and in that kind of shoot, everybody's stationary. They're just sitting, you know, and then like the candles are like right here, and they're all in focus, and everybody else is out of focus. That lady's wearing the, I don't know if that's a prayer shawl or what that is, but over her head, like she looks like Mary, and then you got her like on her knees, candles in the foreground. I love that, where you know it's not really staged because it's happening organically, but at the same time it's like no one's moving, so you have the free reign. You know, like shooting a soccer game, people are constantly
Can't really
moving.
control it.
No, it's all about just popping as many frames as you can, as fast as you can. Hopefully they're in focus, you know. But that kind of stuff, man, that was cool.
I just weaseled these hard hats out of this guy's hand right now.
Are you gonna wear them the rest of your next shoot?
I think we should. I think the cop would appreciate it.
Two women in the middle of I-10
Dangerous.
with about 15 boys out there.
Boys.
Men.
What we're seeing is actually a milling machine on one side of the road that's grinding down a couple of inches off the pavement. And then right opposite on the other side of the road is the paving machine, which is creating new street. So we are informed that the milling, the grindings from the street, goes back to the plant and actually helps create the roads. So they are recycling out on I-10.
Problem.
Semi truck speeding past right here, you could feel it. I'm okay with the semi speeding by, but those men behind us were.
But there was this one guy that came up to her.
He said, you know, you should have let us know you're coming out here with a camera because some of us are in the post office on wanted posters.
Like, do they have cops out there? Like,
Actually,
Just the contractors were really the ones keeping an eye on things. There was like that guy.
They couldn't be too bad then. I mean, they wouldn't just let hardened criminals out there with contractors.
No, he says you'd be surprised. Some of these guys are kind of nuts, but they do the job.
Yeah, we got to Bullwinkle's around midnight, I guess.
Yeah, midnight, got into the door, no problem. They were, well, again, this is another place we had scoped out the day before, let them know to meet these people face to face, say, hey, we're going to be here tomorrow night, just to let you know who we are, that sort of thing, and that helped.
Yeah, I thought Bullwinkle's was going to be the toughest of our assignments because, first of all, it's low lighting, so that adds a difficult spin to the technicality of photographing. And I wasn't sure how people would react whenever I show up with a camera in their face. I wasn't sure if they would go along with it or if they would be cool with me photographing them or if they didn't want to be photographed. But it turned out they were fine with it. They were partying, having a good time, dancing, and I got out there and just tried to photograph them dancing and tried some interesting techniques with the camera. I use a slow shutter speed to pull in the light of the room while the people are dancing, and then I try and freeze the subjects with a pop of flash. You know, we thought we were going to have the opportunity to stick around and photograph and clean it up, but we were kicked out with the rest of the people.
Yeah, we were herded out like the rest of the cattle.
But it was interesting. Whenever they closed, they filed everybody out through the back door. So because the front door is right on Tennessee Street, and you don't want all these kids stumbling out into the road.
Yeah.
So you get filed out the back door, and then there's just tons of people crowded around in the parking lot.
I don't think they understood that I was just taking pictures. They had a couple guys there, and they took me around the plant and gave me like this 3-hour tour of the plant and walked me over the entire place, and it was very interesting, and it's a really fascinating place. Some really neat tanks, and I mean it's just like this enormous digestive system for water that all the water in Tallahassee goes through. It's a really cool thing I don't think people knows out there. I mean, all the sludge that went through, and that I just kept remarking how I said, I'm surprised it doesn't smell as bad as I thought it would, and they said, yeah, because and then they have all these organisms that do all the work, and it seems like the whole place is centered more around keeping the organisms at the right balance, and they even have a big machine called the digester. Is that the digester, I believe it's called, and it was just really, really interesting.
Then we go to the jail. They definitely keep that like a tight ship. Those guys really are in control of everything.
Yeah, even their creases are sharp. I mean, those people are like some of the sharpest people I've seen, and they were no fooling around. And one of the guys was telling about the story about how there's the iron bars, and is it steel or whatever, steel bars, and then there's a glass plate in front of it, and behind the steel doors, there's like the urinal, not too pleasant smelling, and the bed cot thing. And they were telling stories about how some of the crazies had gotten into the ceiling and got stuck up there because there's nothing but steel bars up there. So he kind of got cornered up in this corner when they looked back in, and they were like, where did he go? And he didn't get very far because he was just up in the ceiling.
The whole jail is just nothing but steel reinforcements everywhere. So this guy managed to cut through tile in the ceiling of his jail cell, and he got stuck because there was nowhere for him to go.
And Chris is like, if there's a hurricane, this is where my butt's gonna be.
Apparently, that's like the safest place in Tallahassee. I thought one really funny, well, just kind of impressive too, thing that happened at the jail is one of the cops that was there, he was describing their little remote control that they all have on their lapels on their shoulders.
It's called the man down button.
Yes, that's right, man down button. So basically when they press this giant red button, the main operator of the jail knows which area this cop is in and will send a whole bunch of sheriffs to that area like that, knowing that this officer needs help and he needs help now.
Because the drunk has gotten out of hand.
Right, or something. So, beforehand, this, officer calls into the operator and he's like, hey, I just want to do a test. So he's warning her that this isn't an actual call.
Only warns her.
So
not
he presses it, and all of a sudden you see like 10 to 12 officers barreling around the corner, and they're all, they're all like,
no, just kidding.
They got their shoulders back, and they're all like, ready to fight and ready to break up, and they're ready for the action. And the guy's like, no, don't worry about it, it's okay. But I got some shots of like all these cops just kind of there, like just, you can see it in their eyes. They're just kind of like, what?
Yeah.
Nothing's going on. But they're all prepared and they're broad shoulders and everything. But, the pictures don't really do it justice unless you know the story behind it.
Actually, when we got there, they said, "Oh, you should have been here like 6 hours ago." We were really, crushed under a lot of people, a lot of patients, a lot of things have been going on apparently. And by the time we got there, of course, everything had been, everything settled down. It was a nice, quiet 2 hours.
It was pretty uneventful. Somebody came in on an ambulance. And they had regular work they were doing on some people. Some It was like an MRI, I believe. I photographed. A guy was giving somebody.